Dan is not talking, Dan. Hello?
You're talking though.
Oh, I'm talking. Hi.
Yeah, so we're
Hi.
just we're letting folks come into the room as attendees, and
Okay.
then
Dan's trying to get in, Dan Dillon, but he's an attendee.
okay,
So what does he need to do, Dan Dillon?
Dan Dillon will need to raise his hand.
Okay, you need to raise. Okay. *9. Okay.
And then Kat, are you able to promote Dan?
You're not talking to me.
Hang on, trying to promote him. He's unmuted.
They have to promote him.
We're about 1 minute from starting. We're just letting a few more attendees get in, and we'll start in 1 minute. Thanks for your patience.
Okay. Clark, you hear me? It's Dan Dillon.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Clark. Okay, thank you.
Video submenu. Close. Open participants. 15 participants.
So it looks like, Dan, because you called in on your phone, I cannot promote you to panelist.
That's right. Yeah, that is true. A person on a phone can't be promoted to panelist.
But as long as he's unmuted, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Thanks, Kat.
Of course.
All right, everybody. Welcome to our last session on the opening day of the United States Association of Blind Athletes National Blind Sports Week, presented by Healthy Vision Association. This session is an athlete advocacy panel led by my good friend and colleague and USABA athlete, Clark Rackville, who's the Director of Advocacy and Governmental Affairs for the American Council of the Blind out of Washington, D.C. We are so pleased and excited that you could all join us in this interactive session. And since it is an interactive session, feel free to introduce yourself to the other participants in the Zoom chat or Facebook comments section, and share what your plan is for celebrating National Blind Sports Week and National Blind Sports Day this Saturday. This session will be recorded and posted on the USABA Facebook page, so you can watch it later. And more importantly, you could share it with anyone who could not be on this session. So feel free to share the video. And so this evening, without further ado, I am so honored, excited, and pleased to introduce my good friend, our moderator tonight, and my colleague, Clark Rackville. Clark.
Thank you so much, Mark, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this ACB advocacy panel here as part of National Blind Sports Week. Again, I'd like to thank the U.S. Association of Blind Athletes, USABA, for hosting these events. And special thank you to Mark Lucas, Kat Bokamp, the new CEO of USABA, Molly Quinn, and all others, Kevin, Ben, everyone, thank you so much. As Mark said, I am the Director of Advocacy and Governmental Affairs for the American Council of the Blind. For nearly 60 years, ACB has strived to increase the independence, security, quality of life, and economic opportunity for people who are blind and low vision. I think the two key parts there are increasing the independence. Sorry, we got someone's jaws talking here. So the key things to focus on are increasing the independence and the quality of life. I think those are the two most relevant parts to our conversation here this evening, as well as for National Blind Sports Week. And that's part of the advocacy work that we do at ACB. In my role, I lead our federal legislative efforts with Congress, as well as regulatory efforts with the federal departments and the administration in Washington, D.C., as well as our grassroots and individual advocacy efforts. So the ACB is a membership organization. We have affiliates and chapters with thousands of members throughout the entire nation, as well as special interest affiliates organized around visually impaired veterans of America, or Guide Dog Users Incorporated, aging and vision loss. So if there is a subject related to an ACB special, otherwise, if you just want to hang out and meet people with shared interests, goals in your local area, you can join an ACB state affiliate or local chapter. And you can always learn more about ACB by visiting our website, which is www.acb.org. And because I'm always looking for good shameless plugs and stuff, if you have an advocacy question, whether that's always email me and my colleague Claire Stanley at advocacy@acb.org. So we're going to jump into it here tonight. We've got an awesome panel of ACB members, athletes, exercise fitness professionals, and most importantly, enthusiasts on the topic. And before we jump into the introductions here, I'll just ask for our four panelists, I'll ask you to say your name, where you're from, how you've gotten involved in sport, and I guess any real sport highlights. And I'll go first. So again, my name's Clark Rockfall. I'm originally from Annapolis, Maryland, now living in Alexandria, Virginia. And my introduction to sport was basically growing up and playing ball in the backyard with my dad. But my introduction to Paralympic sport and the sport of tandem cycling was a 2006 USABA development camp in Colorado Springs. That carried me on to the 2012 Paralympic Games and a 2009 World Championship. So now I'll turn it over to our panel for each of them to introduce themselves. And first we will go to Donna Brown. Good evening, Donna.
Good evening, everyone. I am Donna Brown from Romney, West Virginia, and I've got quite a long athletic career, but I've competed in 4 Paralympics. I happened to be honored to be a member of the very first Paralympic team where blind athletes got to participate. That was a long time ago. I am from Romney, West Virginia, just retired as a school teacher at the School for the Blind for 37 years.
Thank you, Donna. And joining us by phone, Dan Dillon. Dan, please introduce yourself.
To everyone, as individuals, how can we better advocate for ourselves and our fellow blind?
Okay, my name is Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. My name is Dan Dillon, Nashville, Tennessee. I have been a member of the United States Blind Golf Association for over 20 years. And I guess that's the main reason why I'm on the call tonight, but I have been involved with blind bowling on the local level in Nashville, Tennessee, and also a tandem bike riding program.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dan. And Doug Powell.
Hello, everybody. I'm living in Falls Church, Virginia. I grew up north of Chicago, but I've been living here in Falls Church for, I don't know what, since 1975. I got in, I have retinitis pigmentosa. So my youth was pretty well full-sighted. I've always worn glasses, but I was pretty fully sighted when I was a kid, and I always enjoyed using my body. So it was just natural that as I lost vision, my parents, we found out I had RP when I was 11, and we decided that for high school, I should probably go into swimming rather than into ball sports. So I did that, and swimming has been a part of my life. Mostly for the last, since 1985, I've been doing triathlons. So that started with swimming. I came at it from swimming, but also it included the biking and the running as well.
Leslie Spoon.
Hi, Clark and everybody. Thank you for having me on. I'm a little different.
Hi.
I live in Orlando, Florida, and I have lived in Orlando, Florida for the last 23 years of my life with Dan Spoon, the president of the American Council of the Blind now. And I teach aerobics and personal train and do community calls on the ACB community now. And so my love is teaching aerobics and personal training and just seeing how people change in their bodies, and really been my passion. I've been a certified aerobics instructor and personal trainer and a kickbox instructor, cycling instructor, now do aqua for the last 20 plus years in Orlando, Florida.
Great. Thank you so much, Leslie. And you being different and your different perspective is exactly why you are here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you to our 4 panelists. And I guess we'll go back to Donna, and I'll just start with the questions. Donna, what has been your favorite sport experience, and how has it shaped you personally?
Well, it kind of began, my athletic career began really as a runner, and that kind of is sort of my more natural sport. However, and this kind of ties into our advocacy here, as I had gone to the Overbrook School for the Blind, and that's where I started my athletic career. And I always had people to run with me while I was at the school. After I graduated and went on to college and stuff, it became harder and harder to find people to run with me. And it's not because I was faster than them. That was not it. It sometimes is hard to get people willing to, give up a little bit and guide somebody. And I didn't know of the, different running clubs at that time that now exist. But anyway, and I always liked to swim. So I kind of started to compete as a swimmer, and I sort of really started liking it. And now looking back on it, I think it has saved my body, from the pounding and all that of the running. But again, with the swimming, I had to do a lot of advocating. I never swam consistently. There was no swim team here in the area where I live. So I always had to look for my own ways to train and compete. And so, it was a challenging road, but that's me. I try to be up to about any challenge that comes my way.
Thanks, Donna. And Dan, Donna raised a good point. We might as well just jump right into it. Have there been times in your sport career, as you look back on your involvement, any sport highlights, that you've had to advocate for yourself or others?
Well, with blind golf is really a team sport, because a blind golfer has to have a coach or somebody to line him or her up and tell you the distance, and after you stroke the ball, where that ball goes. And I guess one of the biggest challenges, Clark, is finding people who are willing to volunteer to be a coach for blind golf. It takes a special person. It takes a person who, preferably would have some knowledge of the game of golf, but somebody who has the time and the commitment to the game of blind golf.
Yeah. Leslie, in your profession, have you had to advocate for yourself or for others?
Certainly. I've been a big promoter of blind golf, but it does take a lot of time, a lot of practice, and like I say, the biggest challenge is finding coaches, that will be willing and have the time to coach a blind golfer.
Sure. Thanks, Dan. And Leslie Spoon.
Yeah, Clark. Yes. So advocating, yes. When I first started doing my aerobics in '99, I wanted to do aerobics for many years when I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. And my family, I have retinitis pigmentosa also like Doug, and had really good vision. And it's kind of out there if you know, it's kind of unique if you say, you know, you want to teach aerobics. And so following my journey, and then when I met Dan 23 years ago, Dan Spoon, when I met him 23 years ago, he really pushed me to advocate and really, you know, step out of my box, my comfort box, and say, you know, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail. And that's what we, you know, that's the worst thing, you know, you can say the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to fail, but you've tried, you know, and you've tried, and you put your heart and soul into it. I've always wanted to be an instructor my whole life. I loved working out. I did have pretty good low vision in my 20s, you know, time's worn on now that my vision's gone. But when I was starting out and I got certified, it took me 3 tries to get certified. I kept trying and trying. I kept, you know, saying to Dan, I just don't know, Dan. I'm not sure. Is it worth it? You know, he says, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail. Are you going to succeed? And eventually you will teach. So, you know, he worked at a Siemens Energy, it was Westinghouse for a while. And he would come home from work. This is how dedicated my husband was to me. He would come home from work and he had a magnifier and would read the books to me, my manuals, because we were advocating for us. We had the low vision. People thought teaching aerobics was just kind of really out there for a blind or visually impaired person to do. So it was really an eye lifting opening experience for Dan and I, and it really brought us closer as a married couple. You know, he would work 8 hours a day and come home and read me these thick books, you know, manuals. I think Dan probably could take the aerobic test also and be an instructor, you know. So, but quickly, you say, did I advocate? Yes, I had to advocate for myself so much. So after I got certified in 1999, I got to teach Clark maybe five minutes out of an hour class. So 5 minutes. I would practice and practice and practice. We had no furniture in our living room. I had a step. I don't know if you back in the day, this is decades ago, back in the day, step aerobics was the big thing. And I had good enough low vision to have my step marked with white fluorescent tape. So we taped my step. I practiced for hours. I would go to the class at a big gym, Gold's Gym or World's Gym in Orlando, Florida. And that class would be an hour. And I would team teach with another instructor because of the liability. And then I would get my 5 minutes. And I'd be like, wow, that was great. You know, and I was pumped. And then after that 5 minutes and after that hour class was over, I got to stay 2 hours after that. And my instructor, my coach, would tell me what I needed to practice on. And the next week I would go, and the week I would go home. And the next week on a Sunday, I got to teach one class, 5 minutes. I would go home, practice. I tell you, we had this one song, I think I wore the dang song out, you know, and practice and everything. And then I got to go back to the class. I got to teach 10 minutes. I was like, oh, I'm on a roll. Yay. Eventually, I got to teach half hour of that class. I advocated for myself, practice what they taught me, what the coaches taught me. At the time, I wasn't really happy with those coaches, you know, but and now that I think back on it, you know, I think back and I tell Dan, we talk about this now and we reminisce, and I say, I was so lucky to have those coaches in my life. They really taught me how to really be a good teacher. So advocacy, yes, you really have to advocate for yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing, Leslie. Certainly points that Dan Dillon made and Leslie Spoon have made, that you know, it is important to have a team behind an athlete, whether blind or sighted. It's very difficult to be a successful athlete and do so on your own, but also to create those opportunities. You may fail. You will likely fail. And I don't want to put him on the spot or throw him under the bus, but Doug Powell, you're a racer. And, you know, as a racer, you lose many more times than you win. But
Yes.
Doug, how have those experiences of sport played into your professional life?
Yeah, I mean, I have this old phrase, some you win, some you lose, and some are rained out, but you got to suit up for them all, right? So, uh, quickly, I just want to say, advocating for yourself, if you're starting out, there's a sport that you feel like you want to do, and there's a group of people, sighted people mostly, I assume that most people are going to try to do sighted sports, like running or swimming or something like that. If you could get there and show up and continue to show up, people will start to recognize that you're committed. And once they recognize that you're committed, quite often that will break the ice, I think, for them to realize that, you're not just there, that you are worth their time and effort, I think. And so that's my experience of jumping in and just showing them that you're really committed. And then, yeah, I mean, as Donna said, sometimes you won't have guides for every workout that you hope for, but they'll do more for somebody who's committed than not. And I do think that carries over to your professional life as well. The same things that you need in sport are the same things that you need in your professional life. You need to, do your homework, find out how the sport is done, learn your techniques, get coaching, practice, and be committed. And those are the same things that you need in your professional life. So I think they complement each other. And once you get the confidence that you, for instance, I don't know, I thought it was a great goal when I started triathlon. I had smoked cigarettes when I was a young man, and then I started to do triathlon training, and I thought, one of my major goals was just to run a 10K, and 10K is 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles. And one of the highlights of my racing career, if you will, was that I trained and finished a marathon. So that, that's a big jump, and it create the enthusiasm, the what's the word I want? The self-esteem that I gained by having the discipline to get out there and run every day and make it longer and make it harder and stuff like that, and actually finish a marathon was really a stepping stone for me. And then actually I did do an Ironman triathlon when I was 60 years old. So that was another milestone. But you keep doing things that will increase your commitment and increase your satisfaction, and you can carry that over to your professional life as well.
That's great, Doug. Thank you. Yes, that commitment, dedication, goal setting, along with Donna talking about being flexible and adapting your training plan to be able to get your work in, whether you have assistance or not, as well as Leslie's hard work, as well as the supportive team. That's things that blind students and blind athletes of all ages can benefit from learning and experiencing. And as we go back to Donna here, Donna, we want all blind athletes to be able to experience the challenges, the falling down, dusting yourself off, getting back up, but then also reaching those highest highs in sport. What would you say? Where do you think that blind sports need to go in the United States, and how can we get there?
Okay. Well, actually, ironically, I not only was I an athlete as well, but I have also been a coach for many years. So I kind of have thinking about it from different perspectives here. So I really think the first step is to just do everything we can to encourage blind and low vision children, starting with children, because that's kind of really where it starts, but certainly not leaving adults out. but just encouraging them and giving them the opportunities to get involved in some type of movement. I try to encourage our kids at the school when I coached, you know, not everybody's going to be a Paralympic athlete, and that's okay. That, you know, that's not everything in life. It's wonderful, but it's not everything in life. The important part is that you're trying to do something to take better care of your body, but also all the other things that come along with sports, the camaraderie with, you know, the friendships that you make. And like Doug was saying, you know, all the other skills, the discipline to, you know, stick with it and practice, and the time management to manage your, you know, whatever the sport is that you're participating in, along with your, you know, academics or your work. And it's, you know, I swam and worked, and that was tough. So I think the very first step is to find ways to encourage people to just do something, keep moving in some way.
Yes, and another reason we're so proud to be partnering with USABA here in National Blind Sports Week, and as well as encouraging folks to be active in the USABA National Fitness Challenge as well.
I
Dan
think
Dillon,
we should have
you
it. We should have it.
identified,
We should have
creating
an
that
ACB walk thing. Like, I mean, Clark, you know how USABA is doing the whatever, the fit walk fit or whatever it is. ACB needs to do one.
There you go. We'll take them on head to head. How about that?
There you go. That's right. There you go.
And yeah, Dan Dillon, you mentioned the importance of kind of growing the support base for blind sports. Would you say that's the main hurdle to overcome for
What is
blind
that
athletes
again,
to be
Clark?
successful?
Just what again? I'm sorry, you're going in and out a little bit
So
there.
you mentioned, yeah, no worries. You mentioned that in blind golf, having a support network in place is really important to be successful. Would you say that's the main hurdle to overcome for blind athletes to have access and success?
Well, I think the more people need to know about these opportunities out there, and I think, I mean, any chance I had to promote blind golf, I did, but I think, I think it's up to the United States Blind Golf Association and whatever organization you're a member of. I think we can all do a better job of making people aware of what's available out there for blind athletes. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is to get the word out, because, I've met a lot of people and they say, well, how does a blind guy hit a golf ball? Well, it's up to us to show them how that's done. And we need to, I feel anyway, that there are probably a lot of blind golfers or people who want to participate in blind golf out there that don't even know of this program for blind golfers. Again, it's a major challenge. You're talking about advocacy. Yes, I had to advocate for myself. I actually ended up getting probably the coaches. The coach has been with me the longest. I put a note up on the bulletin board at church, and that's how I found my coach, one of my coaches. And you just have to get the word out, and any chance you as an individual has, or the organization such as United States Blind Golf Association has, to promote the game of blind golf, that we need to take, to certainly take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is advocacy is up to all of us as ACB members, as members and athletes within USABA, and also our individual governing bodies to promote the opportunities that are available and encourage and educate others to participate. Leslie Spoon, you've been hosting yoga sessions as ACB pandemic. What have you noticed with those yoga classes in terms of engagement and response?
Clark, I heard part of it, but part of it you cut out. So
Sure. Just talk with us a little bit about the engagement and response you've had to the yoga
community
classes
calls?
as ACB community.
So the engagement and
Yes, in
something
your
else.
yoga classes.
Yeah, so thanks, Clark. Yeah, the ACB community, the American Council of the Blind, started these community calls when COVID first, came into effect back in March. And Cindy Hollis reached out to me and asked me if I would like to teach some yoga. And I said, yes, I would love to, just to kind of get some of our blind and visually impaired folks and low vision people just moving and get to know their bodies. And, it started in March and I had one class in March, the week, like the second week in March, I started with one class just doing yoga. I'm now doing 3 classes a week. We've split up the yoga. Some people are more advanced, so now we do more advanced on Wednesdays and the chair Mondays, and then so we're not leaving anybody behind. And then Thursday, I'm now doing a resistance class, which like weights and resistance bands, because we talked about how important strength training is as you age and your bones, yeah, your bones get weaker as you age and everything, and osteopenia and osteoporosis come into effect, especially for women. And it's just been a really godsend for me. I got to tell you, I was on a call the other night, another community call, and they went around and they said, what's the joy? What has brought you joy lately? And I said, the thing that's brought me joy is Cindy Hollis and Dan Spoon and Eric Bridges bringing these community calls to life. And it's really brought me to have some joy to teach people my trait that I love and love so much and want other people to enjoy as much as myself. And, and meeting new people inside of ACB. Some of these people I met in March, and now I call them my colleagues and my friends and reach out to them, and we email, and they ask me, what is this, and how do we do child's pose, and how do we do one of the poses, and how do we do warrior? And it's just brought such joy to me. It's my passion, Clark, as you being a teammate also, and doing exercise and fitness and tandem biking. You know how it makes you feel. It makes you feel proud to just to share your trait with somebody else,
I love it, Leslie. You created that environment, that safe place, that opportunity, and your classes just keep growing, don't they?
I think so, and I hope so. I really love it. It's a fun time. It's a safe place. We all laugh, and we have this one move called the windshield wipers. So today we're having thunder as I'm doing it because I live in Florida. So we're still like in the summer months down here. And so then I said, how many people are getting thunder? Let's do it. They said, we're going to do the windshield wipers. So they know it's my trait move, so they're always like, the windshield wipers are coming. So it has been a wonderful joy and a wonderful journey for me to teach other people. I just hope it stays and keeps growing.
And as we get ready for audience Q&A here, I just want to throw one more question out there, starting with Doug Powell. Doug, what are continuing areas of advocacy that you see up ahead, either opportunities or challenges to getting people more active, healthier, or engaged in sport? And I'll caveat that by saying that diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of blindness for working age adults, adults 25 to 65. So there's clearly a problem where we have people who are losing their vision due to not being healthy and not being more physically active. So what are some advocacy opportunities that you see available to everyone?
Well, I think another of the community calls that ACB is doing is a health check-in where I think you can, make goals and you can tune into those calls and tell them, tell them what your goal is, and they'll help you stay accountable for that goal. I think that kind of thing is really important. I also think I was thinking about your question about how we get young people into the sport. And I went back to a time when I was running a small, I called it Northern Virginia Blind Athletes. And I had some kids that I would take bowling one week and play goalball the next week. And I got a call from an adaptive PE teacher who, she was adaptive PE, and she'd had like one course or, a few hours about blindness, but didn't know how to teach the kids that she was working with how to bowl. So I went in and helped her. So I wonder if USABA has done outreach to the adaptive PE teachers and tried to enlist their support in making sure that their blind students get hooked into sports that are adaptable or that are designed for them, and so that the kids at an early age can get involved with sport and love this, learn to love the sport. I'm almost 71 years old now, and so I'm not going to win any Paralympics or anything like that, but I am, I'm not able to do what I could even do, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but still I have a lifetime of sport, a lifetime of exercise. And I'm clear that when you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So I try to, that anything that we can do probably to help people, encourage people and support people in their accountability probably would be a great thing that we can do.
All right, and I just saw a question come through the chat. So Dan Dillon, there's a question about if you can elaborate on, and I'm just going to paraphrase here, elaborate on the information and the communication between the coach and the athlete in blind golf. How do they line you up, and how do you know whether you had a good shot or not?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that, Clark. Basically, the coach puts the club head behind the ball, and then the blind golfer grips the club, and the coach will say, move to your left or your right to get lined up with the target. And the coach will say, okay, you need to hit this ball 50 yards. So it's up to the blind golfer to execute. And that is key. The coach tells the blind golfer what he needs to do, and then the blind golfer tries his best to execute. The same thing on the green. If the coach says, well, you've got a 7-foot putt, and when the blind golfers really, they have different techniques and different methods of working with their coach. But with me, I leave a lot up to the coach. If the coach says 7 feet, I try to putt at 7 feet. And the coach takes into consideration whether it's a downhill putt, uphill putt, whether it's left or right. If he says 7 feet, then the rest of that stuff is out of my head. I just try to putt the ball 7 feet.
Yeah. And Kat or Mark, I saw we had another question come in through the chat, but I didn't catch it. Are you able to share that question with us?
Yes. Are there any other organizations readily available in multiple states that have become well known for volunteering time to promote blind sports?
Do you want me to take that one?
Go for it, Doug.
I don't think blind sports in general although Mark, you guys have a network of uh, affiliates that, you know, in specific places that would be sort of more overall. Oh, well, actually, so I've got two answers to that. One is the Ski for Light is an organization that is mainly interested in cross-country skiing, and they have an international week every winter, and there are several regional activities, events around cross-country skiing, but some of them have summer programs as well, where they do some tandem cycling and hiking and that kind of thing. So Ski for Light is an organization, and it's SFL for skiforlight.org. The other suggestion I have, if you're looking specifically, I think it's mostly running, is the Achilles Foundation, the Achilles Group. ACHILLES, I think is how they spell it. And they do guides for disabled athletes, either blind or otherwise disabled. So those are two that come to mind for me quickly.
And just to echo Doug's point, Achilles International, who I believe is on the agenda later in the week here for National Blind Sports Week. They have chapters throughout the country and very enthusiastic and knowledgeable volunteer guides, whether you're a blind runner or have some other form of disability. They're a great resource. Another website to check out is United in Stride, and you can share your, say your city and your state or your zip code, and they will put you in contact, if you're an athlete, with folks who are interested in guide running in your local area. There's also a blind tandem racing Facebook group, and the U.S. Association of Blind Athletes website always is a good resource to find other organizations that are active in this space.
The other thing is, if you're an adult, U.S. Masters Swimming, usms.org, they have a whole listing of where you can find masters swim clubs, and it's not a place to necessarily get a lot of coaching, although you probably could get get references, referrals for coaching, but I'm saying coaching, learning how to swim, but a lot of those have regular masters swimming workouts, and I've been a member of a couple of masters teams, and all you need to do is sort of trail one hand, when you're doing freestyle, trail one hand along a lane line, and you're usually swimming circles so that your right hand is mostly doing the trailing along the lane line, and you can find a group that is going about the same speed you are, and you get they can tell you what the next thing in the workout is.
Mark, any other
Panelists.
questions?
Yes, we have several questions. This is Mark Lucas again, Executive Director of the U.S. Association of Blind Athletes. And the questions are coming in through Facebook, our Facebook Live. Does ACB have any college scholarships for visually impaired or blind athletes? And I know U.S. Association of Blind Athletes has the I Can See You Foundation gives scholarships, but does ACB give any scholarships for college students?
We certainly do have college scholarships, and I would refer anyone interested in college scholarships to see the various offerings. Off the top of my head, I can't say whether or not there are any athlete-specific scholarships, but I'd encourage you to check out the ACB website at acb.org, and there should be a link there on the homepage for either students or scholarships.
Outstanding. Well, we're going to wrap it up for this evening. And I can't thank you enough, panelists, for the wonderful job you've done tonight, and Clark for moderating. And so don't forget to join us tomorrow beginning at noon Eastern, when we will be live from our U.S. Paralympic training site in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where our women's and men's goalball teams are hard at work right now training for the Tokyo 2020, actually 2021, but they're still calling it 2020 Paralympic Games. And tomorrow's sessions will include educational webinars that will include our national team goalball coaches, a live scrimmage of our goalball resident athletes from Fort Wayne, and followed by a question and answer session with our athletes and coaches. You will not want to miss it. And don't forget to participate in one of your favorite activities this Saturday, October the 3rd, in celebration of National Blind Sports Day. Post those pictures of you spelunking and kayaking and doing your daily push-ups and jump roping, or just doing a leisure walk. We'd love for you to proudly display your posts on Facebook and share them with your friends. Finally, every day is important for us, as Doug Paul eloquently said, to play and recreate. And it is important for us to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls. It's imperative that we move every day. And that's why my mantra is, personally, imperative movement. Thank you so much, panelists, for joining us. Thank you all for out there for joining us tonight. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Good night, Mark. Good to see you.
Likewise, Doug. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Donna.
Everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Clark.
Mark.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Clark.